If I'm the first man and Pierce is the second man, does that make you, the listener, the third man?
Wow. So witty.
So witty.
Well, welcome to not just any book club, New Year bookends. Sorry, I got that in the wrong order. Bookends New Year edition. It's a new year. It's a new era, as always, for not just any book club. Feels like we make some kind of change every year. And we've decided to make a bit of a change to both our bookends and our regular episodes. Bookends, where we usually talk about movies, sometimes other pop culture stuff, but usually movies. We have decided we are going to do the list of Palme d'Or. Is it d'Or? I don't know. It's French. It's French. Whatever. Who cares? Yeah. The winners of the highest prize at the Cannes Festival in France. Starting with The Third Man. We are not starting from the beginning because there's like 2.5 good movies in the first 10 winners. So we're skipping to the third. We're skipping to The Third Man, and then we're gonna do everyone chronologically from then.
Maybe we'll get around to the films that we quote unquote missed. Maybe, not guaranteed.
I think if we were to do that, we'd probably watch all of them and over time slowly, and then do one episode where we do a quick rundown, basically, instead of giving each one its own episode.
Ugh.
But we're also making a change. If you are here for both our book episodes and our movie episodes, we're also making a change there. We're going to be pulling from a list of great books called thegreatestbooks.org, where they kind of aggregate a whole bunch of awards lists and personal lists and blog lists and all kinds of lists of the greatest books. And they aggregate them all together, have their own list from 1 to, some thousand number of books that are found on any of the lists they aggregate. And yeah, we'll talk about what list it comes from, how high it is on the aggregate list, all that, and then what we think about it. So yeah, we're trying to pull from places now, basically.
Award-winning places.
Yeah.
So we're starting off with The Third Man, which was released in 1949, directed by Carol Reed, written by Graham Greene, who wrote the novella, but that was released after the movie was released, which was kind of a hit. So it was a surprise hit. I guess I can go run down through the plot. Basically, there is this author named Holly Martins, who is an American, visits this occupied Vienna that is occupied by Russians and the British and some other countries as well, I believe, to visit his friend, but his friend has mysteriously passed away under mysterious circumstances. Every time that Holly tries to ask someone, he hears something else. The stories don't really add up, so he decides to investigate because he was really, really close to his friend, and after he keeps on inquiring, more information doesn't add up. He meets up with this actress named Anna, who was very close to Harry Lime, the friend that died, and she's this actress. She's famous, and she's just enamored. But then Holly starts to fall for her, and starts noticing more discrepancies. Tries asking the doctor. Most notably, at the car accident, there was 2 men that are walking away, and someone mentions that there was a third man. People keep on trying to suggest don't investigate it, but he still is headstrong. And then he notices, He notices more people deciding that they don't want to help him. He wants to go talk to the porter, and the porter is mysteriously killed. And he starts talking to Major Calloway, and demands that his death be investigated. And Calloway informs him, "Hey, buddy, your friend was an awful human being and diluted penicillin and sold it on the black market." And then it's later revealed through hijinks ensuing that Holly Martins has been trailing him and is alive. And after Holly tries to chase his friend that he presumed dead, he escapes. He tries to get Major Calloway to help investigate again, but they're not able to find him until they find something under the sewer, an escape of just an interconnected tunnel system, and then it becomes an international manhunt, and then they eventually capture him, and Holly believes that he is going to get the girl at the end after Anna keeps on saying that he's still in love with Harry, but unfortunately, it doesn't really happen. Walks right by
Yeah.
him at the true funeral.
Yep. Um. Yeah. It's a really good film on the fringes of noir. I mean, it is noir,
Mm-hmm.
but it also, there's a lot of the trappings of typical noir that are not
Mm-hmm.
followed. I saw some real online discussion about whether or not this is actually a noir film. The consensus seemed to be it is, but there's some things that they change around that make
Mm-hmm.
it something else as well. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
fully film noir.
I think that, I mean, again, it's really up to opinion, but
Mm.
I think the tone is probably the biggest indicator of this. The fact that it is so down on your luck and cynical, especially it taking place right after World War II and using some German expressionist lighting, and there being this mystery that kind of just unfolds and involves someone that's in over the head, and the bad guys are very bad people, and the justice system does not really want to help them. I believe that those are true characteristics of noir, so
Hmm.
I think there is some value to that.
And I mean, it's in black and white, right? So like,
Yeah.
it has to be,
Yeah.
it has to be film noir.
Yeah.
Of course, he says doing doing a list of like prestige cinema, the most like
Basic. Yeah.
uneducated basic thing ever. No, in all seriousness, I do agree that it is film noir. It's
Yeah.
I think I hate to just repeat the very first thing you said, but I think it's true. The tone is probably the
Hmm.
biggest indicator of that. How how the film treats and seems to think of all of the characters and organizations,
Hmm.
and in this case, countries and nations, which is something that's unique about it versus other film noir. Um, the way that it treats it and thinks about and deals with those groups and people and how they interact is alongside the mystery is all I think indicative of it being some amalgamation of film noir.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, this is my third time watching the film. I don't know if you've ever heard about this film or even knew about the big twist coming in, but the first and second time I understood the film. I understood that it was good, great, even. It touches that, but it just didn't really land with me up until the third time. The third time, I really finally understood why this film was so well acclaimed. I even felt it rather than intellectually just agreeing with everyone. I think that if you go into this film with the mindset of that this is almost a deconstruction of noir, of basically just the pulpy novels that were being thrown out at the time, where it's just black and white, where there's a very clear good guy and a very clear bad guy, and the bad guy being taken down at the end always results in justice being served in the world. It's kind of almost a deconstruction of that, in a way, which is where I think the author going in with the knowledge that the author, the protagonist is a very pulpy author, kind of just makes the themes more resonant. And once I finally got that from the beginning, it really stood out to me, and I love the film. I don't know about Pierce over here.
I don't know, I wouldn't say that I loved it. I think it's maybe I have to watch it 3 times. Because I think I'm pretty close to where you were, I guess, where I can
Yeah.
acknowledge that it's great. And I think especially, man, and that last act, a lot of the cinematography, the camera
Goes
work is
hard.
incredible.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I just don't doesn't land with me. Again, maybe I have to watch it 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the complaints I had at the beginning, where it just throws so much at you, like from minute
Yeah.
one,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just like this guy's just asking a bunch of questions over and over again, trying to link up like what actually happened. At first that
They're
bothered me. So
yeah,
you
they're
can,
trying to dig into and unravel the mystery very quickly, and I don't know. They definitely do throw a lot at you.
yeah. At first that bothered me, but I really like the frantic pace of it. Once I start to realize that like you're supposed to be really confused with the main character because it's just again throwing much at you. The details not matching up, and I guess me knowing how all the pieces fell together, I kind of appreciated the confusion because I'm like I am noticing all these details and foreshadowing. I don't know if you Pierce were just trying to connect the dots and being thrown off along with it.
Yeah, well, so you get into it, and it feels a lot like, I guess something that you might typically see in some
Mhm.
noir, where there's some kind of a corrupt police force or entity of that kind,
Mhm.
organization like that. That's what it seemed like, is that there was corruption and some kind of a setup to do with that. But the twist is that that's not really the central focus of what's happening. Like
Mhm.
his friend is really Lime is really a bad guy, and the cops are really tracking this bad guy down, trying to bring him to justice or whatever. Which is to
Mhm.
not to say that the police are perfect, because obviously
Yeah.
they're not in the movie, but
Mhm.
um, and I think the film probably does want you to kind of think that there's some kind of a corrupt thing going on, because the investigator, he's like, every time the guy starts poking around, he's like, go away, like,
Yeah.
stop poking around.
Yeah.
um so the I mean, I guess hook, line, and sinker, they got me all
Yeah.
right.
I mean, did you predict the big twist in the middle? I mean, did that kind
No,
of
no, I did not predict that. That's not who I honestly did not know who this third man was.
you didn't even know
You
it was
know,
Orson Welles, even though his name is on. Like, I think he might be on the poster at this point. Yeah,
well, he's not maybe on the poster, but
but his
he's not on
name
like
at least.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, I didn't look at who he played, because I think the only
No.
place I looked at the cast was in the letterbox. You have to like mouse over them or whatever,
Yeah.
click on them. But yeah, I don't know. I I didn't really have a good idea. And in that way, I guess that's really good and something that you can appreciate. If you're saying that there's foreshadowing and like
Hmm.
hints towards that, and it totally fooled me, totally got me,
Yeah. And got you.
um, then I get on a rewatch, I probably would appreciate it more,
Hmm.
just by virtue of knowing what's coming and being able to
Hmm.
pick it apart from that direction.
Okay. Also, I think we're gonna be we're talking about the plot a lot, which is important. But I think there is one defining aspect to this movie, which is like me not even saying it, kind of is the most obvious part. The music. It's
Mm,
the biggest swing towards the fences. It's
yeah.
either you love it or it just really detracts from the film overall. Gonna be honest, I didn't expect the music to sound like that, but again, I think I'd start to really appreciate it on several other watches. At first, you're taken aback by it. It's almost everybody likes to describe it as this, but like SpongeBob music, where
Hmm.
it is very jaunty,
Yeah.
and almost very incongruent with the tone of the film, where this guy is trying to investigate the murder of his friend in bombed out Vienna after the Second World War. It's not
Mhm.
exactly the happiest tone, and this song plays, or this tone plays over and over again. I don't know if you've got any opinions on that, but I
Uh,
think
I, yeah, I felt like it was kind of goofy
okay.
for certain parts, but I don't know. There were other parts that I felt like it worked. Like the
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you have any guesses of what the intention there is? How you're supposed to how it's
Well,
supposed to mesh with the film itself?
I like to think that the zither originated in Vienna or in Austria. I'd
Hmm.
like to think that's very characteristic of it. And again, what I said was like it's a very big swing for the fences. This film really commits to the fact that like this is the defining sound, and I have not seen any other film that is like that because they would usually go for a generic orchestra or like with Noir, even though it's not really characteristic, it's kind of a stereotype that they have a jazz saxophone behind it to really accentuate the fact that it is very sleazy, very cool, very smoky.
Or some
Here,
kind of
it's just like
horn? Yeah.
yeah, the horn. But here it sounds foreign and almost just disconsonant with everything that's going on. But the fact that it is in a major key, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. My ear training is not that good, but in almost the Lydian mode, where it sounds almost manic in a way. It sounds almost too happy, and just like that the film is almost mocking the events. And while there are bits of humor in the film, I would not even say it's a comedy at all. Not even close.
Nope.
So it kind of adds this discrepancy that, in my opinion, doesn't distract or detract from the film, but kind of just adds to all the craziness as if someone is watching this all from afar and kind of laughing at us. Maybe it could be Harry Lime. Who knows? Because I don't think the soundtrack plays at the end, the final act, except for the very end. Um, it's almost just like that we, the audience, are kind of just like taken aback and kind of laughing at how futile his actions are. But I don't know if you got anything to say about that as well.
Um, no, not in
Okay.
particular.
Yeah.
I think maybe on a rewatch I would like it a little bit more. I remember, man, I should really watch these a little bit closer to when we record because I'm not going to be able to recall the specific
Mhm.
scenes. But there were a few scenes for sure where I was like, oh man, that really like it works for the scene. But it never really like took me out of the movie.
Mhm.
There were a few times where I was like, eh. but
Okay.
I was always invested. Like it never made me, you know, took me out of it so much that I had to like reinvest myself or refocus.
Yeah. I get it. I just respect the film for really committing to it. Because apparently this guy Anton Karas, um, the director, Carol Reed was preparing to shoot for the movie, and I think he was playing at a bar, and he went up to the guy, Anton Karas, and was like, "You're hired." And I think he is a one-hit wonder. The soundtrack to this film was very popular, um, especially the fact that he was an instrumentalist, and the song has no lyrics, and I think it's the only song that is only entirely made of instrumentals to be this popular around the world. So it was kind of a phenomenon. I don't think that's ever gonna happen again, which is really wild to me. Um, but in my opinion, it makes the film and mocks the events of the film without detracting or making it into a comedy. It adds a bit of a character to it, especially like I think it plays at very appropriate times, like when there's a huge reveal, especially the reveal when Harry Lime comes out of the
Yes.
shadows.
Sorry, I was literally just I was trying to like picture it in my head and I didn't want to say
Yeah,
that in case that was like wrong. I was like, man, when I was
yeah,
literally just thinking, I was like, doesn't it play when he gets revealed? Like I'm pretty sure that was one of the
yeah,
moments I was like, "Oh wow, it fits." And then
yeah,
but I didn't want to say that because I was like, what if it wasn't? What if I'm
yeah.
misremembering?
And before that, that Holly said, Harry Lime or Harry, is that you? Um, do you know automatically that that was Harry Lime right there? Because it's a big name actor. It's Orson Welles.
Well, is Orson Welles big by this point? By
Oh yeah.
45? He is.
Oh
He's like huge. I
yeah.
don't know. Genuinely, I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, oh, I guess. Oh, it's 49. First of all, and second of all, Citizen Kane is 41. Of course, he's a
Mm-hmm.
huge name. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways, um,
He's too young for this.
I am. I am. No, to be honest, no, I didn't know immediately,
Oh.
but it is a cool reveal if you
Okay.
if you do know.
Okay.
The way he steps out of the shadows is really cool, and I was like, "Who is
Who's
this?" And
that? Yeah.
then
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, the cinematography for this film goes pretty hard.
yes,
Especially the fact that you mentioned Citizen Kane. Orson Welles just didn't really have much to do with the film aside from the cuckoo clock speech and the fact that he influenced some of the writing, but not too much. He's always been in denial about how much he contributed to this film, but you just know the fact that like that's Harry Lime. Oh, sorry. I was talking about the cinematography. When we're talking about ADHD brain, the cinematography goes hard. Is because Ch- Charles Foster Kane, Orson Welles, it revolutionized a lot of the filming techniques in Citizen Kane. So you can kind of see the touch prints and the fingerprints within this film, especially with the fact that like it uses a lot of German expressionism, especially Dutch angles, lots of Dutch angles. I think every other shot in this film is a Dutch angle. Um, it's sometimes it does get a little bit too much, especially with also the harsh lighting, which is also very reminiscent of German expressionism. But Dutch angles everywhere, especially in I don't know if you've seen the Dutch angle in any other film, but it's most notably used in Do the Right Thing, where
hmm
it gets used a lot. And do you know why it is used?
is
Why
to make the figure appear larger,
larger and
and
and since it's tilted to its side, it's supposed to indicate that um, it's supposed to look odd and off, almost like a horror film,
mhm.
or like someone is just intimidating, intense. The camera should not be tilting towards on an angle, and it's supposed to be. It is this film's defining feature. It's just supposed to make the film look odd. So you got that coupled with the very strange soundtrack. It works. It's like two negatives making it to a positive. Is how I like to do it. If you multiply
Mhm.
them together.
Right, right,
Um,
right. This guy
Also,
maths.
this guy maths through movies, and um, and the fact that this is all black and white kind of just adds to the effect because, especially at the tunnel sequence at the end, that could not be made in color because it would just remove so much. In my opinion, black and white really allows you to see the details and at where color would distract. So basically, kind of simplifying the amount of colors in the tunnel sequence, or even seeing Harry Lime's face for the first time, it kind of adds to it with all the harsh lighting. So
I think guy who's seen, not nearly as many black and white films. I think one thing I feel like probably directors pay and cinematographers probably paid more attention to certain aspects of a frame when everything was in black and white. Um, and I mean, you probably know in more specific detail than I do about what specific differences they were paying attention to, but it certainly appears to me that there's like a pretty significant difference if you're composing a shot in black and white versus in color,
yeah,
based
color
on
grading and
color
everything.
grading, what you'll have in the background,
Hmm.
where the camera's sitting, the lighting, everything.
Hmm. Yeah, that is why you can't usually just put a black and white filter on something and then call it art.
hmm
There's a little bit more nuance to that because again, it is color grading and light and shadow. those are all very important details when it comes to photography and even in film. So
Mhm.
this is probably the best black and white film has ever looked, or at least a very top contender for it. In my opinion, I haven't seen anything else that could rival it. So take my word as gospel, I guess.
This guy has not seen every black and white film. Don't listen
No,
to him.
no,
Um, immediately discredited.
discredited.
No, it's a gorgeous looking film, and I didn't know this coming into it, but we've talked a little bit about that last act. There are several shots from that last act that are, kind of they feel like film school staples. Like I've
Mhm.
seen them before,
Mm,
and I didn't know anything about this movie. Especially a lot of the shots of Orson Welles in hiding
yeah,
and all the shootout stuff and everything. Like
yeah.
I've seen those shots before, and and so
He's a
they're
noob.
that's how good they are in this
Yeah,
black and
or
white film.
iconic.
Or iconic, yeah.
Yeah,
um but they're iconic for a reason. I think it's because they're
yeah,
so good, because they are really great shots.
yeah.
But
So, pivoting from the shots, and I know this film's pretty light on character, but we could talk about the characters anyway. Harry Lime is in the film for like less than 15 minutes, but he's up there with um, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter as the character to acclaim ratio, the screen time to acclaim ratio being a little bit off, but it works out anyways. Um, Especially that cuckoo clock speech. I, what is your opinion on Harry Lime? Is he up there with some of the best villains of all time, or film villains, or you can be
um
as heretical as you want?
yeah, I think I am going to be a little bit heretical. Like
Oh,
I don't get me wrong, I enjoy him. He's a good villain for
mm-hmm.
sure, but I don't know, the comparison to somebody like Hannibal Lecter feels a little bit um not right. Like Hannibal
Okay.
Lecter, what is it like? wh- How long is Hannibal Lecter in that movie? Like almost no time, and he's one of the greatest film villains. He's probably the greatest film villain ever, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know if I could put him on the same level as Hannibal Lecter. I don't know if he um, commands quite the presence that Hannibal Lecter does. Even though
Mm-hmm.
I do think Orson Welles and is really good in the role, and
Mm-hmm.
you know Harry Lime is definitely a really great villain. I don't know if he quite reaches that
Okay.
mountaintop that I think Hannibal Lecter is.
Okay. Um, I think that Orson Welles' charisma really helps. The fact that he is so charismatic and
Mm,
kind of cocky and confident, and
yeah.
you can tell that he believes all the evil stuff that he's saying, um, from the short amount of screen time he has. Even though I guess a majority of the screen time he's there, he's mostly running. But that the Ferris wheel scene, I think, is what defines him the most. And on my third watch, I actually felt a little bit tense for some reason, even though I knew that nothing was really going to happen to him. Um, I thought that I thought that he was really going to kill Holly, even though I know he doesn't. But I could listen to the subtext that he says that he's got a gun, that he was going to kill his friend on the Ferris wheel by either shooting him or pushing him off. And the fact that he was like looking at those dots on the ground, looked at people as dots and calculated very coldly whether how much profit he can make by just removing a few of those dots. And I don't know, I found that very chilling.
Mhm.
But I think what this film does really well is through indirect characterization, where a lot of the film's relationships with him are kind of just left up to the viewer or to interpret. Because I don't know why everyone's so loyal to him. I don't know why Holly's so loyal to him. I don't know why Anna is just way too loyal to him to the point where
Holly
she's a little bit delusional.
Holly Martins, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't exactly feel like kind of the prototypical noir
Mm-hmm.
main character, does he?
No.
He's a little
Stupid.
yeah, he's a little
Okay.
stupid. He's a little I don't know, ditzy, I guess. I feel like
Okay.
as he's characterized from the very beginning as somebody who's like kind of way in over his head.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
gets drunk with the inspector and I don't know.
He's
He
also kind of a hack author because
yeah, right.
what is it? When he gets taken away in a car, he's like, "Where am I going? Oh no!" And he goes to a convention where people are asking him questions, and he's like, "What do you think of James Joyce? Who? James Joyce? What do you think of him?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that is."
That's oh, I forgot about that. That's so true. Oh my god. The
I
most
was
famous author of our time. What do you think? I have no idea what you're talking about. Or I guess of
yeah,
however many years ago, but whatever.
yeah. I mean, I think they knew it was a big deal back then as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, 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 yeah. I just meant it wouldn't be of our
Yeah,
time because he was writing 30 years before the movie. But whatever.
yeah. He was the Orson Welles of literature, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I just like how confused he is most of the time, and I don't know if it is actually him just being stupid or just like he's just like he thinks he's the hero of the film of the story where he's really not.
right.
And
And maybe that's playing up to the kind of deconstruction of noir to some
yeah,
extent.
because what I think this film is also really commenting on is the conventions of the genre, where the detective takes down the bad guy at the end of the day and wins. Because one, with Harry Lime, even though he's diluting all this penicillin and everything, there's kind of this undercurrent of just like, well, the fact that Vienna is occupied is the reason why there's a penicillin shortage and lots of medicine shortage. They're kind of the ones responsible for it, and they're want to take down a worse guy that has no morality, but they're kind of responsible for the problem themselves. And the fact that they're occupying a country where they don't even speak the language, they just recently bombed them for sins of the government, and now they're being invaded by another government, which is marginally better, but they don't understand them, and it doesn't look like a very happy place. The fact is that one, I think I've said this before, but like the story could have been the story is pretty basic, or in a way where it doesn't really necessarily need to take place in Vienna. It doesn't need to take place in a bombed out location after the war. It is just a bunch of set dressing. But the fact that it is filmed on location in a bombed out Vienna where there's still a lot of rubble, and I think a lot of the extras there were actual locals there. I don't know if you were able to know that, Pierce. You speak a little bit of German. Um, the fact that like instead of corrupt cops, we get corrupt soldiers that, again, do want to maybe want what's best for the country, but are kind of actively making it worse in their own way that we don't even get to see. They don't really do much justice, where they kind of just spin the wheels. And the fact that perhaps the protagonist is a detective from a no, not even a detective. Instead of a detective, you get a foreigner who just shows up. It could have been literally anyone. It adds a bit of character, and of course the music kind of adds this other element of just differentiating itself enough from the conventions of noir, while still feeling entirely at home, which I just found interesting. Got anything to say to that? Oh, and the femme fatale, which I think we have not mentioned Anna at all. I think that's kind of the film's weak point because
Yeah.
Anna is not the
Well,
smartest.
right. Well, also it's they again kind of in a shirking of typical noir. Usually, this romance, this relationship, is sort of the center of the film, and it kind of falls by the wayside as things go on. Like at first,
Mhm,
yes, they're kind of working together and they're going to places together, but then slowly as the film goes on, especially once Harry Lime comes into the picture, Anna kind of does her own thing for a while. Like they're not
mhm.
together as often
Yeah. She
as
has so many yeah,
she and
yeah,
Holly. But yeah,
yeah. She has so many opportunities to leave, but she keeps on staying, even though Calloway is like, "Hey, Here's a train. Please leave the country, otherwise people are going to come after you and try to deport you. She still stays in hopes that Harry will come back and save her for some reason. Even though again, there's a bit of a romance coming in with Holly, and those names kind of sound similar to each other, and I don't like to think that's a coincidence. She loves two men who are kind of in over their heads. With one of them thinking they can solve this murder mystery, and the other one that still thinks that they can stay in Vienna and still run the show. Um, so, and also one detail I noticed is that she's an actress that only acts in comedies, not tragedies. So, again, she's a little bit delusional. I think that's what the film's trying to say there too. And also, I think it is very important the fact that a lot of the relationships, the three, I don't even know if considered a love triangle, but between Anna and Harry, Harry and Holly and Anna, it's almost entirely off screen, and it's up to the viewer to interpret it, make up their own film theories, and depends on if you think Anna's really delusional or there was actually something that Holly or Harry, I'm confusing them, really cares for her about. It's all up to you. Indirect characterization.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh. And the ending. So the ending's great. Like the actual ending, that final shot
Oh,
that makes me
yes.
go
Yeah.
cinema. Um, why do you think Anna rejects Holly at the end?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, there's a part of me that almost feels like he falls. Obviously, he falls in love with her, but there's a part of me
Mhm.
that feels like she's just hanging out with him to get to the bottom of what's going on with Harry. Like, I don't
Well,
think that there's.
oh well, I think that like she believes. So she believes that Harry has this identity that basically. Hmm, how do I say this? So Harry, she knew Harry, but the facade that Harry put on, and I guess that that her rejecting Holly at the end is almost kind of like a happy ending because she is scared of both men. She doesn't want to deal with them anymore. Um, and deal with any of that. And even though that Holly can protect her, she can protect her for the authorities because I think her passport is kind of messed up. She chooses to remove herself entirely from this and accept the consequences. She lives in the most real, even though they all live under delusions. Because Holly, even though that he killed his best friend, even though that he fell under a facade, it was kind of sad the way that he shot him because you see that there's a bit of sorrow. It's not played for as a victory; it's played as a hollow victory, even though he killed probably the worst human being alive.
Mm.
Um, Anna still believes that that Holly could just be another showman, putting on another facade. So she just ultimately just rejects both. And Holly
Well,
believing that the fact that like he's a novelist, black and white, that he's the hero of the story, and he gets the girl at the end, but
yeah.
that ultimately doesn't come true.
Well, I also just think that maybe I came on too strong with like her not feeling anything for him. Like maybe
Hmm.
she does feel something, but I think throughout the entire movie she shows an intense loyalty to Harry no matter what. It feels
Hmm.
like Harry could really do no wrong in her eyes, basically, or at
Hmm.
least nothing wrong enough that she would leave
Hmm.
him. And so I don't know. Maybe she either it's just she's so loyal to him. Maybe it feels wrong to get with
Hmm.
Holly at that point, given what happened between the three of them and
Hmm.
their relationship. Um, or maybe she's just too badly hurt by this person she was so
Yeah,
loyal to dying.
it's all
Um,
valid. Yeah,
yeah,
valid. Yeah,
but
at the end of the day, I kind of view her not getting with Holly as a almost of a pseudo victory, even though that she's probably gonna be deported and whatnot. She's gonna be imprisoned. At
to be
least,
honest, they absolutely both should just move on from this time in their lives. Like
yeah, yeah.
like they probably don't need each other as like a memory of this like Harry basically.
Yeah, they don't. But and I guess rejecting that is the weird bittersweet ending to all this. Even though killing Harry is did not really solve the crime or solve the big problem. It's something. It's something that they take some pride in, but it's not going to stop everything. So kind of a downer as well.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't
Bitter
have anything
sweet.
more to say. Unless you want to say anything about the cuckoo clock speech, even though apparently it's
I
all wrong.
mean, yeah, and you can really we talked around it quite a bit. I don't think there's
Yeah.
too much more to say about it itself. It's a good speech.
Hmm.
It sells his villainy, I guess.
Yeah, and his
Um,
philosophy.
and his philosophy, yeah, more so than yes. Uh, but I think we talked around it enough. I don't really have
Yeah.
anything to say about it itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say on the matter. I'm pretty sure that this film was very well acclaimed. The fact that like it was number one at the box office, I believe. And it showed up on the BFI and the AFI top films in their respective lists. And this film has also had some sequels, not in the traditional film sequels, but like as episodes on theater on radio theater. So basically they made prequels to this where Holly Martins is just um not Harry Lime is still having some adventures before the events of this, which people were into that. Not me. I don't know why you'd want to have a fan made prequel to this, but I guess it's a thing that people enjoyed back then. 52 episodes. Sorry, I just looked up the episode count. Yeah, but yeah, that's all I've got to say on it.
Yeah, I think that about does it. Um, well, man, it's been a while. Next week we will be talking about um, The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. We've done
Yeah,
a Faulkner episode before, but this time we're all reading the same thing and
and we're
discussing
all gonna
it.
try to understand it.
And by we're all, we mean we may have a guest. We'll see. It may just be the two of us, but we'll see.
Yeah,
But besides that, yeah, join us next week for that. You can find us
on
sort of
Twitter.
on
Uh,
Twitter and TikTok, sort of.
and oh yeah, well I accidentally may have deleted TikTok, so
You may
whoops.
have deleted our TikTok on accident. Hold on, I
No,
better
I
find
deleted
this.
the app. I deleted the app.
Oh, I
So
see.
there's
I
no way of
see.
me getting its banned now. Whoops, sorry Chinese spyware. But we have a blue sky now.
Mm.
Ooh, there's that.
Um, and that extra content to YouTube still coming. It's still coming.
You've been
One
probably
day.
saying it for a year, but
We probably have
hey,
been saying it for a year at this point, but there are plans, especially because both of us are starting to get our lives actually in order enough to do it.
yeah, we're adults now.
Um, we are adults, so that should be in the pipeline at some point. And please give us follow, rating, subscribe, like. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Are you gonna say what movie we're gonna be doing next?
Oh, what
It's probably
movie
the
we're
most
doing
famous movie in the
next?
world.
What movie are
Oh,
we
it could be
doing
the Oscar
next?
episode.
Oh yeah, next month we're doing the Oscar episode. We might do that every year. We'll be going over Best Picture. Probably touch on the animated feature and the international feature, but we're not gonna do like last year where we just
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think it
read
was.
off the whole list.
Yeah,
It was a little
I think it
much.
was longer than the Oscar
Yeah,
Oscars themselves.
we'll probably touch on the other big awards. Best international, best animated, the performances, but mostly going to be talking about the Best Picture race. So check that out next month.
Yeah,
And yeah, that should be it.
yeah. And goodbye, Prometheus.